Here's a place where all of us can be safe. Our stories of transformation can be safe, and all the things we want to research are safe here. This is Safe Space with Cheyenne. I'm really excited you're here, and I hope you stick around for a while, because I've got a lot to show you before I leave Earth. I love you guys.
Hello, my friends. I hope your day is well, and I hope you are ready for this conversation. I have Daniel Jackson here, and we're going to be talking about so many things. Truly, the conversation I know we're about to have is going to be one of my favorites because we're talking about spirits, archangels, clairsenses, haunted houses. Turns out not to be haunted houses, but being beacons of light, and really just awakening and coming online. And for those that have gone through an awakening and have found their purpose and have decided to write down that experience and share it with the rest of the masses, I think that takes a massive amount of courage, but also a massive amount of compassion and humility for your fellow man to be like, these are the experiences I had. I know I'm not alone, and I want to share them with you and help you in your own evolution. So Daniel has written a book. It's called The New Beginning, My Awakening as a Spirit Medium. And today, not only is he going to talk to us about his book, but he's going to unfold how he even began writing the book and all the experiences that have led him to where he is today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. And you have really good diction when you speak. So
I really think it was the meditation, because the prior interview I had, you could just tell how excitedly ungrounded I was. I was a golden retriever behind my microphone this morning.
That's funny.
Today I was like, okay, I have Daniel coming on this afternoon, and I really just feel like I need to be 10 times more grounded for this conversation, or I'm just going to interject way too much. So
yeah, probably. I would say yeah, because usually when I do interviews with people, the last interview I did with someone was somebody over in Australia, and for me, it just comes, it's natural. All this is natural because I'm given it naturally, and it just flows for me. And she just kept saying, "Slow down, slow down." I gotta. I said, "Yeah, it's a lot. I understand that, but." Just listen.
I'm usually that talker, so I think you found your match, but I really try to, evolve my cadence every interview that I do.
Awesome.
And there really are so many times that I either want to interject with a similar story or even a question for the beginner that might be listening, that they're driving in their car and they would want to ask you that question. I really want to observe it as the host and as a listener myself, because I learn from everybody that I bring on here. So I want you to interject, and I want you to ask questions about every little thing, because there is a lot. Mm-hmm. Because I've done some interviews in the past where they just let me talk, and I was like, that's not really what I was looking for. But once in a while I get an interviewer who will ask me a question that no one else has ever asked me, and then I get all excited about that because it's something different. I want to be that person for you today.
Sweet.
So starting out, you saw spirits your whole life.
Yes.
So
ever since I was 3 years old.
Okay, so let's start at 3 years old.
Yeah, and I remember those memories too, even to this day, because when you have these types of experiences that I've gone through in my life, they're along the lines of what we would call traumatic experiences, where you just remember them. They never leave your mind, and these things never left my mind. But they are getting to the point now where when I wrote my book, the way that I received messages in the very beginning, when I was getting messages, when I was aware of these messages coming through, it was happening maybe 5% of the time on a scale of, from 1 to 100. Now it's 85% of the time. So my own thoughts are no longer mine anymore. I'm only about 15% of me now, and the rest is spirit. So everything that comes into my mind comes in as my own thought, but I know, I'm aware that it's not coming from me. And when I do know something that is going to be a little bit more tricky, because I get answers from them also where they touch my face for yes and no answers. This is a yes across my forehead, and then it goes down my side of my eye, feels like a tear, and that's for no. So I will check in with them and say, did you just tell me that? And they'll say yes. So, yeah, I have a check system for myself, but I also use that check system when I get answers for people. But yeah, this has been going on ever since I was 3 years old. My parents and I, my two brothers and my sister, we all lived in a house in New Jersey, in the United States, for anyone who's outside the United States. And this town where I lived was right next to the Delaware River, where a battlefield was, and this is where the Hessians fought. But there was also a little tiny hospital there as well. So, but it wasn't just my house. I know some of the other homes around the area because we lived in a square mile town, so people talked. And I knew people who would also see things at their homes as well, even our next neighbor. But it just, by the time I got older, it really progressed more than just that home. But yeah, I was seeing, like, I remember a time when my mom was helping my sister get dressed for school, and they were in the bathroom. My mom was doing my sister's hair, and they stepped in front of this mirror that was on a door. It was a full-length mirror, and when they stood in front of it, there was another woman standing in the mirror, and she had a colonial outfit on. I know there was a time when my brothers and I were downstairs watching TV, and my sister's room was 2 flights up. So, and she had a record player. So this was in the 1970s, where when you had a record player, you had to lift the record up onto this post, and you flip the switch, it would drop the record down, and the needle come over and play the record. When we were watching TV, her record player turned on. But that wasn't what I would call the crazy part, because we were used to it so much. The crazy part was it was switching records. So it was taking a record off and putting another one on. Yeah. And then we would see ashtrays move around. Right? What's that?
You consider that poltergeist activity, right? Like when they are energetically
I don't call it
enough
poltergeist.
to pick up an object?
They insinuate that poltergeists are something evil.
Yeah, and I don't want to insinuate anything evil. I just mean the level of energy that actually takes something not physical to pick it up and take it off.
Well, the level, so people should know the level of energy in order to do something like that is from a spirit who is where it is, in which realm it is, has to have been there for a long time and collected enough energy to do that. Just in the same way where some spirit will speak and some won't. But then again, as I tell people, some spirit want to be seen. Most of them don't, because now they're living a life that's uninterrupted. They don't want to always be bothered. So they just hang out with themselves or each other. But yeah, they have to have a certain amount of energy, because the ones that we see most of the time here are what I refer to as earthbound spirits, but they're not really earthbound. They're just in a lower energy realm. And in order for them to collect energy, there's energy there. I see it all the time. I just see it looks like little rivers, and they walk up to that river and they close their eyes and cock their head back and they collect energy. And then they walk away from it. And that's just the regular people. You do have the negative energies there who feed off of the regular energies that are there and or come into our realm and feed off of us. But they have to have that energy to make themselves feel good, because if they don't, when they don't have enough energy, for you and me, it would be like if we're walking around and we feel nauseous, and that's how they would feel. Because when you're in this lower realm, you chose to go to that realm. You don't have to ask for forgiveness from God or a higher power to go into the light. You choose to either go into the light or you don't. And when you remain here as an earthbound spirit in that realm, you're still holding on to your pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, all that stuff. But what also happens is people don't realize is spirits still feel pain. So if another spirit were to walk up to you and smack you in the face, you feel it. And people don't realize that. So you have to have a certain amount of energy to walk around, to be, because you just where you just are. There's no 4:30, 5 o'clock, or 8 o'clock at night. You just are. There's no physical buildings. They're not walking through walls. They're just walking. But you still have to have enough energy to feel, good. But some of them, when they can get more of it, wherever they can get it from, then they are able to do these things like turn record players on or make things slide across the room. And that's what they did. And so these ones just did that. But we knew who they were in a sense because we had 3 of them that lived in our house. It was 2 men and a woman. And they always stayed in my sister's room, and you could see the shadows on the wall at nighttime.
And she was just used to it too, like this is just a normal thing in your house?
As I explain it to people, when we're kids and your mom and dad feed you green beans, and then 30 years later you like green beans. Why? Because you got used to it. Mm-hmm. You just do. You with anything in your life, some people are able to accept themselves or accept their circumstances or accept their surroundings for what it is and just move on with life. And that's what we did as a family. We got used to it. I know there was one time when my mom and dad and my one brother moved from New Jersey to Delaware, and that's where I resided until about 1.5 years ago. My brother took over the house. And when he did, he went camping on a fishing trip, and some of his friends didn't know he went on the camping trip, and they went to his house and they were banging on the door, and out in front of our house was a big picture window. So they were looking into the window and they see people walking around, and they kept knocking on the door, and then they called my brother and said, "Hey, you got to answer the door." My brother said, "I'm not home." So who was walking around my home? Right. They saw people walking around the home. You see shadows go by, full-on people. So, yeah, that's that. And that's how, you could say, is it haunted? But people use haunted because they don't understand the terms that they're not really haunted. Spirit is everywhere you go. You can go to Walmart and find spirit. But again, some of them want to be seen. Most of them don't. And when they have enough energy, they can manifest themselves. But not all of them can. As many people that cross over into the light, there's that many who don't. Billions go into the light. Billions don't. But that's not just people either, because I don't just see people. I see people, dogs, cats, horses, cows, fish, other beings from other worlds. I see everything. But there's a reason why I see everything. And you're going to find that out in this interview, because I have something that no other medium on the face of this planet has. Because it's not meant for anyone else, and it only has to be one. But
I think that's
to continue story.
Right. I think that's a great thing to pull up, though.
Teaser.
Before you continue on, I want to pull a few things apart that you said. So the way that they communicate with you with the yes and the no, I love that you talked about that, because so many people that I talk to trying to nurture these gifts that they have finally realized have been a part of them their whole life, they're always curious of the way that they're going to communicate. And one of the things
each way is different. It's different for each person.
Exactly.
Because what works for me doesn't always work for someone else. I get touches on my face, and then they put thoughts into my mind. And then I have been communicated by voice as well. So,
what's your strongest way of getting communication? Is it third eye, where they send you pictures and a mixture of clairaudience?
Oh, I get everything. All the time. Never. That's the one thing I haven't come in contact with is anyone who has anything like I do. None of them. They either have one or the other. Like when I do meditate, or sometimes I'm not even meditating, I just close my eyes and a movie is playing. It's a video. It's usually in a video form, or it looks like a cartoon is playing. So I have been out places where I was with my wife, and she said, "I'm going to use the bathroom." I said, "Okay." I sat there and closed my eyes. As soon as I closed my eyes, the video was already playing. It was already playing. So it was in progress, and it's like a loop. It just shows it over and over and over again so I can get the message of what it is. But, it never turns off. It never stops. It never goes away. I don't ever not see spirit, ever. When I go to sleep, but sometimes they do come into my dreams and talk to me as there as well. But I don't ever not see spirit. And the way that I explain that is, all these spiritual, these ghost hunters and stuff like that, they don't see anything what I see in a day. Mm-hmm. For me, it's like being in a room with 1,000 people, except no one leaves and more just keep coming in. And it never stops.
what are your boundaries for it? Do you have an on-off switch or like guidelines
No, I
for
have
how
no
they're
off
supposed
switch because
to approach you?
I'm not meant to have an off switch because of what I do. So I'll explain it to you real quick. So so when you pass away, you're going to stand up out of your body. You're going to look down and go, oh, I guess I don't need that anymore. And you're going to take a step to the left and you're going to look to the right, and the light's going to turn on for you. And that's your personal light. Everyone gets one. And there's a choice there. Just like you have choices here. You either walk in or you don't. It's that simple. And it's your choice to walk in. And the willingness and the wanting to walk into that light, to cross over, will wash away all your pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, and all that stuff that you learned how to have here. Because you didn't come into this world with it. You learned how to have it here. And then because this is a learning place, and that's what we're sent here for, to learn. So you walk through, and then that goes all away, and then you go back to a beautiful white light again. Or you don't, and you remain here as an earthbound or in this lower realm, and you are still, either place, you're still you, but you still hold on to your pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, and all that mess, so you still have anger and all that stuff, resentment, whatever, that's your choice. But you see that light, and you either walk in or you don't. Now, beyond that light, there's always one other light that has to shine all the time for all other spirit to see it, because all spirit can cross over anytime they want to. They just don't always do it. But they see the light. It's what we call the light into heaven. And that light, because it's in this physical world, is in a physical body. It's also a soul. So like when you leave here, let me ask real quick. Okay, so you're on life number 28. You've been here 28 times. You've had 27 other lifetimes. Meaning you've had 27 other sets of moms and dads, brothers and sisters, dogs and cats. Oh, and 27 other astrological signs that mean absolutely horse crap, because it doesn't, because your soul was not born under stars. Only your body is. Okay? I mean, in the very beginning, the first calendar was only 5 months long, and then it was 9 months, and then 10 months, and then 12 months. So what did that mean? There was only 5 signs, and then they created, a bunch more. Mm-hmm. And in all actuality, what is astrology? It was a bunch of people a long time ago, the Greeks who sat around and looked up in the sky and said, let's play connect the dots. Hey, that makes a fish. No, it doesn't. They're just stars. They have nothing to do with you. That's not going to define your day. What's going to define you and your day is the choices that you make, not some article in the newspaper. Okay? So yeah, you see that light cross over, or you don't. But that other light is always there. It's the light into heaven. It shines all the time. Now, with other spirit around, all around us all the time, with us being alive here, they can hear our voices because they hear us. But after a while, there's so many of us here, it becomes like that stuff when we used to see TV long ago, like static, like snow. It just, they can tune that out. But with this particular light that's shining, that's in a physical body, they can't tune it out because it is the beacon of light. It is the beacon for them to see and hear. And then they go to it, and then because that light is within a physical body, they can ask directions on how to go through, because they don't always know how to go through. Okay, because they've been where they are for so long, and they got so many other negative energies telling them not to go in there. They don't know what to do at that point.
That was my coming up question, not to cut you off, but
yeah, go ahead.
You can tie this into what you're about to say. Is with the spirit crossings that you do, you're able to have a conversation with them. So do they
Correct.
tell you why they didn't go into the light?
I never asked them why.
Okay.
That was their own choice. Just like anything you do throughout your day is your own choice to do. Who am I to judge what you do?
Oh, definitely. I would just be
Correct.
Curious.
Well, you know what the big message for that is?
Yeah.
Why do people judge each other? Because who are you to ask what anybody else does and why they do it? You're not, because you're the same as they are, equal.
Absolutely.
What I do for them is give them the option to either want to go, and how to get there. Mm-hmm. Not all of them want to go.
Yeah, see, I would be so curious with diving into that with them.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you a lot of the reasons why. It's because when you stand up out of your body, you're going to get all the perfect memories of your lifetime here, plus the other 27 lifetimes you've been here. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to know at that point, because it's very quick, and you're going to be very aware of everything. And when you look at that light, you're going to know, if I walk in, if I had to come back 28 times, there's a possibility maybe I have to come 29. Okay. And maybe you don't want to. Maybe you don't want to. Maybe you know that, because you're going to have memories of all your other lives and go, some of those lifetimes were really hard. maybe the next one's going to be hard because you're still in that transition point where you still have all your feelings of earth feelings of wonderment and wanting and inquiring minds want to know. And so if you don't know if you have to come back again, but you do know if there's a possibility you go through, you might have to come back again. Maybe you don't want to. Or maybe you're just okay. Maybe you're saying, if I go in there, I don't want to come back again. This place isn't too bad. And then you just stay. I mean, it's when I see it all day, it's not really that bad, but there are negative energies there. I see some of the horrible things these negative energies do. Mm-hmm. But if you can avoid it, like you can avoid them here, I mean, if you have someone negative around you here, what do? Hopefully you walk away. Some people don't. They engage. Mm-hmm. So again, that's your choice. Same thing with this. You can either walk in or not. It's up to you. You could have. I did a reading for a woman on my live show where she asked about her sister, and I said, "Well, I know you don't feel your sister around you, correct?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Because your sister did not cross over." I said, "But if you tell me her name, I can call out to her and try to find out the reason why." Now, here's the crazy reason. So she tells me her name. I call out to her sister. She comes right to me, and I asked her then, Why did you not cross over? And she said, "Oh, I had something to tell my sister." I said, "What you have to tell her?" She said, "Well, when I was alive, I was cheating on her with her boyfriend." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "Yeah." Well, I said, "Well, it's been a while. You should." She said, "No, it's only been 2 days." And I said, "No, it hasn't. You died 20 years ago, because there's no space and time there. They have no recollection of time."
Right.
And I said, "You died 20 years ago, and it's been 20 years, and you haven't still been able to tell her a message because you're in a place where you can't. So cross over, and then at that point, you can possibly come through and tell her something and get a message to her." So I did. So I got her to cross over at that point. When I talked to the sister again, I emailed her and said, I told her a reason why. She said, "Oh, I already knew about that. I let that go years ago." But see, they're in a negative place. They don't know these things.
Yeah, they don't know. They're being held down. So what does it look like in your mind when you cross someone over? How does it feel, and how do you know?
Because it's not in my mind. I just close my eyes and it's there. So like when I look at when you look at the walls and behind you, what color are they to you?
Well, in the camera, they're an off-white. But in my house,
to you,
they're actually white.
To you, they're that color. To me, they're white and blue. But everything that I see has blue in it. So in other words, when I have my eyes open or closed, I see the veil. It never turns off. If I concentrate too hard on it and start looking at your walls, there's a woman standing right behind you, blonde hair, green eyes. She's in her 30s. She died in the 1970s. She's got her hair parted that way. Okay. It's that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's just, so it's not, your mind, clear something up for people. Nothing is in your mind. Your brain has nothing to do with anything except for making the little parts in your body work. Everything is your soul because you are a soul. You don't have a soul. You are a soul. What you have is this meat suit in order for that soul to be here, to be in this physical world, and for that soul to learn from. That's it. But the mind doesn't do anything. Everything they tell you about the mind and, it's doing this to you and not doing it. No, sorry. It only has to work with the body. Has nothing to do with who you are. The person who I am speaking with right now is the soul.
I knew I was going to love this conversation.
A soul who's been here 28 times. Mm-hmm. So, but that's average. And when I do readings for people, the average amount of being here is between 26 and 29 times. Although I did a reading the other day, 2 days ago, and the lady had been here 36 times, and she's coming back again already. And she's only in her 40s.
So have you met people that have reincarnated like thousands of times?
There's only one that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't reincarnate. So that's me. So I'll get back to that a little bit. So that light that shines all the time, it shines all the time so that all spirit can see it. Not just regular spirit, but spirit that are in bodies all the time. They can feel it. They can pick up on it as well. And then they can hear it because the spirit can tune everything else out. But this one, they can't. It's me. I've been here the longest. My soul has been here since the beginning of time. So when people say you're an old soul, guess what? Everyone is an old soul. Mm-hmm. Everyone is. I'm just the oldest. And I'm able to do what I do because I am the light into heaven. When you leave, you go home, and then you come back into another body. I don't. My soul, when that body expires, leaves and goes into another body that's automatically born for that reason. The last one it was in was actually in my grandfather. When it was, when my grandfather was talking to my mom and dad, asking my mom and dad, and my mom told me the story all the time, that when I was born, when I was getting ready to be born, they called my grandfather because he wanted to know when I was going to be born. I have 2 other brothers and a sister, and it was about them, but with me, he was like, he really wanted to know because he knew, because he had this. But what he did not know was the way that the exchange happened. And the way that exchange happened is when they called him up to told him to come to the hospital. He was on his way to the hospital, got dressed and ready to get going, and he had a heart attack and died, and his soul left his body and came into mine, and here I am.
I had a feeling that's what you were going to say.
This is the last time. I'm not coming back after this. This is the last time.
So you're going back to source or to like another place like
I'm going back to my original position
Okay.
of what I used to be there.
Okay.
Archangel. There's no others here.
And then you
Just me.
still help humanity from that?
No, they will, but they won't, because the reason I'm going back is because this place is coming to an end. Mm-hmm. 2332. So the last page of my book does not say the end. It says 2332. We have 311 years now. That's it. We're not getting to Star Wars and Jetsons. And then this place, so the title of my book is called The New Beginning. It's not about me. It's about everyone else. It's the new beginning. Because when you take 2332, if you take 23 and you take the 23, you add 2 plus 3, what do you get? 5. And then you take the 32 and you add that together, what's that make? 5. And then you add 5 and 5 together, what's that make? 10. And you turn it around, what's that make? 0, 1. So in other words, the end of this place is the new beginning somewhere else. Because we're just not getting it right. I mean, we were at another place before this. You've heard of it. It's called Mars. Look what we did to that place. We were brought here. There's no Adam and Eve or Adam and Steve, whichever you prefer. We were brought here. Why do you think they'd come here and check on us all the time? We call them aliens, but we were brought by them. We are their children. But we are all children of God. Because Jesus Christ was actually here, but he did not die for your sins. That's a lie. He died for being a free thinker. He died for trying to tell people that we could all live together and take care of each other and share everything in the world. But the people who saw that, the ones who were in control, kings and queens, religion, they saw that and they scooped him up and they put him on a cross because he wasn't the first one to be on it or the last one. And they tortured and murdered him to show everybody, if you follow this guy, if you do what he's doing, we're going to do this to you too. So I always tell people all the time, why are you wearing a cross around your neck? You're wearing a form of punishment. They don't want you to remind you of how much he did for you. They want to remind you of how much power and control they have over you. That's why. Jesus was able to do the things he did because he had only been here one time. He was that in touch with his soul. He was trying to help us to get back to doing the same thing. But the people who were in power and control didn't want that happening. Today we don't call them kings and queens. Now we just call them government.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever read Jesus and the
He was trying to help us to get back to being in touch with ourselves, being in touch with our souls, so we could help each other. Because that's our true purpose. Your true purpose is not becoming a doctor or a lawyer. Your true purpose is we are here to help each other just for the sake of helping, not because you can, but because you should. But in a physical way where someone's going to come up to you and say, "Excuse me, miss, I'm lost. Can you help me find my way?" And then here's where the choice comes in. You can either say, nah, I don't like people, forget you. Or you turn around and go, sure, I'll help you. Because you always know when you really help somebody, truly help somebody, it feels good. Why does it feel good? Because that's your soul saying this is what we're supposed to do.
Very true.
But yeah, so the light shines all the time, and that's me. And so what happens is spirit comes to me and they talk to me, whether it's a person or a human, or if a dog comes up to me, I hear it as English. Now, I know other mediums who don't hear that. They only hear what that, they hear a dog or they hear someone speaking Spanish. I don't hear it in Spanish when they talk to me. I'm not sure. I can see looking at them and tell their ethnicity by looking at them because I can see them plain as day. But when they start talking to me, I mean, I had some beings about 3 months ago that were standing in front of me. They all looked like the only thing I could describe them as was from Star Wars, that Wookiee, Chewbacca. There was 5 of them standing there. And when they were talking, I heard it as English. And then at that point, when I saw them, I said, do any of you want to cross over? And they said, no, we're fine. We're just having a conversation. I said, okay. What do I do at that point? I move on to the next one. Because it's your choice. You either want to go or you don't. And if you don't, all I'm here to do is give you the option. Mm-hmm. If I sat there and wasted time on every single one trying to convince them, I mean, they've been where they are for a while. They either want to go or they don't. So I just give them the option. That's what I do.
I like how nonchalant you are about the
But like when you
crossing over.
said, do I have a switch or anything like that? No, I have to be open all the time because I'm a portal for all spirit. Mm-hmm. In other words, anyone who comes through into this world is being born, their energy comes through me. I'm the gateway. I am the light through heaven. So the light into heaven is not someone just going through home. They come through the same way. So if they're being born, they come through my energy. If they're going home, they come through my energy. Everything. All the time. So I have to be open all the time. So, but that's not something I have control over. It just happens. In a way where if I just stare off into nothing like I'm doing right now, I'll look over this way and just look into nothing, I just start seeing these clouds going into my face. That's people crossing over because 130,000 people die every day. We're just waiting our turn.
Very true. We're all on a line.
Yeah, you're just waiting in line, waiting for it to happen because there's 2 rules in this world. As long as you follow the rules and as long as you comprehend the rules, you'll appreciate your life and everyone else's life around you. And rule number 1 is people die every day. And rule number 2 is you can't change rule number 1. When it's your time to go, it just is. I don't care what kind of vaccine you take. No one dies too soon. No one dies too young. No one dies unexpectedly. And no one dies tragically. Everyone just dies. You just do. Mm-hmm. And if you have to make a return trip, you will. You'll find that out. When you leave here, you stand up out of your body. You don't go to heaven right away. You go to a holding place. It's not judgment. They just go over your life with you like a review and tell you what you did and what you didn't do. And they tell you what you were supposed to do and you didn't do. Or you're supposed to do and you did. And they just let you know. But it's at that point, they'll let you know if you have to come back again. If you're not helping anybody in this world, you're coming back. I don't make the rules. I just explain them. We have to help each other. We do it throughout our lives, but we don't do it enough. Spirit wants us to do it enough. They want us to learn, and they want us to learn quickly. Not everybody learns quickly. I mean, if you walk through a door and there's a nail on the floor and you trip over the nail, how do you learn that lesson? Well, you go get a hammer and you bang it back in so you can walk through that door freely the rest of your life. Not everybody does. Some people it takes them 4 or 5 times. Some people that it takes them forever and they don't learn it at all. I know those people. I worked in prison for 6 years. Those guys haven't figured out that they're not good criminals. It's that simple. But people make things complicated. That's all. If you're not good at learning lessons, I had a woman ask me one time, I went out with this guy and he was a piece of crap and this other one was a piece of crap and this is a piece of crap. What can I do different? I said, what do they have in common with each other? She said, they have blue eyes and brown hair. I said, here you go. Ready for this? Epiphany. Go out with a blonde. Try something different. Doing the same thing over and over again isn't going to get you a different result. And if it does, it's going to take 100 times. Learn that lesson quickly. Figure it out and go, this isn't working for me. And do something that does work for you. Because there's no right and wrong. There's no other failures, no mistakes in this world. There's only 2 things that you're ever going to make decisions for. What works for you and what doesn't work for you. And if it doesn't work for you, quit doing it. Do what does.
Quit living the definition of insanity.
Yeah, the pure insanity, because they just can't figure it out. But that's because they're just not good at learning, because they've got themselves into a repetition of not knowing how to get through things. And then getting through things quicker will get you on the path to meeting up with those people who you need to help. But we do have some people in this world who don't help anybody. You've heard of them, They're called Kardashians, things like that.
Oh my gosh.
They don't help anybody. You know who's coming
comedic.
back? Every one of them. I already know that. They don't know that, but they don't care. But even when they come back, they're not going to get too much of what they had here the previous time. I mean, we do come back with some memories. You've heard of them. They're called deja vu. Mm-hmm. That's a memory. You're not meant to remember everything. That's why I tell people all the time, don't mess with ancestry.com or don't mess with the past life regression, because those lives were important when they were being lived. They're not important now. It's what you do now that's important. It's what you do now that's hopefully going to get you a golden ticket back home to stay home, because that's the ultimate goal. Mm-hmm. We're not meant to be here 50 times. We're meant to learn it quickly and get home so we can stay home. There are those who do stay home. We have them. They're called spirit guides. They have been here enough time, fulfilled their purpose, went home, and then they still want to help, so they come back here and help us.
Yeah, I decided that's my ultimate goal, is to be a spirit guide.
Yeah. Get your purpose fulfilled.
Yeah. Okay, where were we on your story?
You're on your way, so I'm not worried about you.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And I appreciate all the other insights you keep digging in. I'm definitely going to have to write them down later. I'm trying not to react to any of them so I can stay on your story, because if you start telling me about myself, this is going to be my episode. And I don't want that. Okay. I don't want that, because I want to hear all about you. So
sure.
Back to where we were in the story, because I know we have a bunch to talk about with, the age 50 and up is what we're trying to.
Boy, that's everything else was like there was a time once I was in a band. I was like 23 years old. I came home from a gig, and I had big hair and zebra striped spandex. I thought I looked cool, but not so much maybe. So yeah. And I laid down in bed. When I did, something laid down next to me. And these are the type of experiences I was having all the time. You get used to it. But this one, that one really freaked me out, because something laid down next to me. I felt the pillow squish down. And I kept rolling over to see what was there. And it happened like 3-4 times. And then that 5th time when it happened, when I rolled over to see what was there, whatever was there picked up the blanket I had on top of me, and it brought it up to the ceiling and shook it above me, and then it dropped it on me. And then for 2 years, I slept on the couch downstairs because I was scared, Yeah, I mean, I was brought up Catholic, and I was told that these things were demons and devils and stuff like that. But, let me ask you, when people want to get in touch with their mom and dad or any other spirit, since they are now spirit, does that make them a demon or a devil now? Mm-mm. No. So the people who want to tell you those things are the people who want to tell you how to live your life the way they want you to live it, and give them 10%. How did they know about 10% long ago when they wrote that book called the Bible? Because the people who wrote that were kings and queens. That's how. So they just want to scare you. That's all. Because they want you to do what they want you to do, and not the way you want to do it. Live your own life. You don't need them. So yes, I had all kinds of experiences like that all the time. There was one time when I was in my grandfather's room, because he was living with us, my mom and dad. And I was laying in his room, and my sister was down. She had this little pet ferret there. And I was laying in the bed because I was looking at all these pictures of my grandmother, who had passed away 2 years prior to that. And I started to fall asleep, and then I heard a squeaking noise, and I kept kind of sitting up saying, "Hey, knock it off, telling this thing to quit moving." And then, because that's going to do something, because they don't understand English, right? So, like a dog. So I sit up and finally look over, and when I do, my grandfather's chair is rocking back and forth. And my grandmother was in it. And she just rocking back and forth. And I was like, what? And then when I said, oh, and she looked at me and turned around, her eyes got real big and disappeared that quick. So there was one time when my girlfriend and I were watching TV. She was at the foot of the bed. I was at the end of the bed watching Rocky Horror Picture Show. And something from the closet, came out of the closet. It was about maybe 2 feet thick and about 4 feet long. Thick and milky and white looking, snaked its way out of the closet, went all the way across the room and just disappeared. And I was like, and she turned around to me and she said, "Did you see that?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Let's get the heck out of here," because that's kind of, but these are the types of instances I had in my teens, 20s, 30s, 40s. It was when I turned, right before I was turning 50. It was 6 months before I was turning 50 when everything got to an extreme. I mean, I've seen things my entire life, but this was really bad. I was seeing everything that you could. I was seeing green mist, green and red mist pouring out of the walls. Skulls coming out with little red eyes and fangs floating around the room. It was just crazy stuff. My wife went away on vacation, and then for those 2 weeks, I saw everything you can imagine that was in a scary movie happening in my house while she was away. So, I saw this cloud come out of the corner of the room when I was in my bedroom. It came out one night, it was red. The next night, it was blue. The next night, it was yellow. The next night, it was green. And then it came out red with black stripes, blue with black stripes, yellow with black stripes. I saw 7-foot skeletons walking around the house. I'd be laying in bed and saw these little creatures come out of the walls and start climbing up on the bed. I saw this thing that they call the Hat Man. I looked him up on Google. I was downstairs getting my cat, and I said, "Come on, buddy, it's time to come upstairs." And he looked at me, and he looked to his right, and I looked to my left. I saw this wall of blackness appear in the middle of the floor, and then a man walked out, and I could see like the side view of him. He had this big wide hat. He was completely black, long black coat. Saw his facial features, and he just walked across the room. And to me, the strange part was he didn't have any feet. Now, when I saw him, all I did was just turn my head and watched him go. And then he just went through the wall, and that was it. And then when I turned back, the wall of blackness just disappeared. It was around Halloween where my wife had this projector, because we always dressed up, and I dressed up in this full-body tiger suit. And then say crazy stuff. But kids would come up for candy. I'd say, "Here, kids, here, children, have some candy. Welcome to diabetes," whatever. But sense of humor. So she had this projector. She was playing it on the wall, and when she did, it came out with all these crazy creature stuff like that. And I was like, I just turned around and looked at it. I was like, she's like, "What?" I said, "That's it. That's what I saw. That's what I saw coming out of the walls yesterday. That's what I was telling you about this morning. That's what I saw coming out of the wall." She's like, "You're kidding me." I said, "No, I'm not kidding you." I mean, when she came back from her vacation and she told me about her adventures, I told her about mine. And she thought because I'm diabetic, maybe the medicines I was taking was causing me some diabetic psychosis or something. It wasn't until 3 days afterwards that she started seeing some of the same things. We did everything. We did everything you think you should do, which is go on the internet and try to find, paranormal groups or whatever. I found a paranormal group and had them come to my house. They came to my house and got more evidence. They got so much evidence that by the time they got finished their investigation in my house and they went back outside, they quit. They were supposed to come to my house with a big reveal. They didn't come back. They were supposed to call me 2 weeks later. I didn't get a hold of them for a month and a half. And I said, "When are you coming back for the big reveal?" He said, "We're not coming back. They broke up. I can't get the team back together." He said, "They're too afraid to come back into your house." They wanted to walk around my house, do it all at nighttime. One girl was taking pictures, and then after a few minutes, she said to one of the other guys, "Hey, you need to see this. You got to check this out." And I was like, "What is it?" And she's like, "Well, we're not really supposed to tell you but you got to see this, Mr. Jackson." I was like, "Okay." And she showed me these digital photos, and it was me standing with a team member or just one of the team members by themselves. And when she showed just them, there was nothing there. But when she showed me by myself or me standing with one, there was 15 to 20 light orbs completely surrounding me. And she's like, "We've never seen that before. I see one or two, but I've never seen that." And I was like, what's it mean? She said, I don't know. She said, we've been doing this for 4 years. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. And so they did one time where they did a test. They wanted me to go in my bedroom and lay down and pretend I was sleeping. Because they knew I told them a lot of the stuff was happening in my bedroom. It happens all throughout the house, but more so in the bedroom. When I get calm, when I'm clear. And when I did that, they came in and they turned on this box called a spirit box, an obulus. And when they turn it on, energy goes in and words come out. As soon as they turned it on, it started saying, unique, special, energy, light. It said, Wendy, Helen, Paul, Michael. Just started spitting words out. One time it said the word road, like a street, it said road, in that computer voice, road. When it said that, a car went past my house, and I was like, because I'm laying there pretending I'm sleeping. And then they started asking the questions. And this is when it got down to the bare text. They asked questions for 10 minutes, and every time they asked a question, it answered. One of the questions they asked was, are you here to harm Daniel? And that voice came through and said, we are not here to harm Daniel. We love Daniel. We love Daniel's light. Daniel is the light. When it said that, I was like, what the heck's that mean? Daniel is the light. That freaked me out. Everything else was kind of cool, but then when they got done, they walked out of the room. I got up and walked out of the room, and when I went out there, they're all huddled up, and I said to my wife, what's going on? She said, I don't know. There's some big discussion. I said, okay. So they got done, and then they turned around. I said, me excited. And I'll tell you why I was really excited. Because now, it wasn't just me and my wife. I mean, like I said, my family experienced this, but this was different now. I'm older. So I was excited because someone else was going through it with us. They were experiencing it. They were getting the information. They were catching it on camera. They were catching it on EVPs, everything. And I said, that was amazing, wasn't it? I mean, that was really good. And they said, he turns around and says, well, Mr. Jackson, there's an issue. And I was like, issue? What do you mean there's an issue? I said, you heard all that? I said, it wasn't bad or anything. They said, no, but when we use the spirit box, we can get it to spit out a word or two. I said, oh, okay. They said, it never says sentences. It said full sentences for 10 minutes. I mean, we know that when we asked a question, it was an intelligent conversation because it answered it right back. Everything we talked about, it talked about. I said, okay. They said, we got to figure this out. We've never gotten this before. I said, all right, no problem. So, I mean, they got all kinds of information. I mean, one time we were down in the basement, and I'm standing there talking to one of the guys, and I'm standing there, and I walk away. He says, can you go back here again? I said, what do you mean? He said, right here, stand right here. I said, what do you want me to see? He goes, I just want to check something. I said, all right. He goes, turn your head around and look behind you. Now, behind me on the wall, against the wall, was a mirror just against the wall. It was a big, giant mirror. And I turned around and I looked. The mirror was vibrating. And I was like, that's kind of strange. And he said, yeah. He said, walk away. I said, all right. I walked away and it stopped. He said, come back. I come back and turn around, and it's still doing the same thing. I don't know. So they got all this information, but yeah, when they were supposed to come back, they didn't.
Basically, it freaked them out, is what I.
Oh yeah, it freaked them out. I mean, but I'm used to it. But some of the stuff was like different, but it's just different from what I'm used to seeing. Mm-hmm. But I'm seeing so much. But yeah, it freaked them out. So what ended up happening was they didn't come back. They did. They gave me a bottle of water in it, and I said, what's that? He goes, oh, it's a spray bottle. That's with holy water. Yeah, you know what that is? That's a bottle of water. Holy water doesn't do anything. A man cannot bless water and make negative energies go away. There's only one thing that can make negative energies go away. Positive energy. That's it. You can't make a negative energy leave your home. You can't do an exorcism and all that stuff. That's not real anyway. because another energy cannot take over your body because there's already an energy in there. There's no such thing as possession, okay? That's all lies and crap. So, but you cannot spray holy water and make them go away. In the same way, you cannot smudge your house with what is that stuff that you smudge your house with?
Sage?
Yeah, sage does not work. Do you know why? Because those spirits are in a realm where they no longer have a body. Means they no longer have lungs, and they don't breathe, and they don't smell. So when you're burning sage, the only thing you're doing at that point is setting off your fire alarms. That's it. If that were not the truth, then don't you think all the forest fires in the world would make all the negative energies go away? They can't smell it. It doesn't affect them. That smell and all that stuff is a physical thing. They are non-physical beings. The only thing that you can do is put out that positive energy, put out that good intention, and that will make them go away because they don't want to be around positive energy. They're there to pick up on your negative energy. And if you're exuding negative energy all the time, it's like inviting them to your buffet. So as long as you put positive energy out, that's what's going to make them go away. Be positive. Be as positive as you can. When you feel something negative around you, it's like feeling something heavy on you. Think about, ice cream and puppy dogs. That'll make them go away because that's good stuff. They don't want to be around good stuff. But yeah, so there was nothing. Spraying that bottle was not going to help me. And then he gave me some prayers. Well, where do prayers come from? Come from the Bible. What is the Bible? It's a physical thing. You can't put crosses up and Bibles up and make negative energies go away. They'll laugh at you. Because that stuff's not real. Again, when you're putting that cross up, what are you putting up? You're putting up a form of punishment to make a negative thing go away. They're the same thing. Hello? Wake up, people. Don't listen to TV and movies because they're lying to you. They want you to be scared because they want you to show up to their movies and make money. That's why. So don't listen to them. But so in order to get them to go away, you got to be positive. So at this point afterwards, my wife and I went to, I looked around and tried to find some mediums, and I found 5 of them. None of them knew each other. Every one of them told me the same story about me. One of them in particular, she wanted me to come to her show because she said, I want to show you how I do it. Now, I didn't understand what she meant by that at first, but I understand it now because eventually this is what I would be doing. I just didn't know that. So I got tickets. I didn't tell her I was coming. Now here's where it got really strange. So my wife and I walk into the building. We open the doors and we go in. There's about 50 people in the room. She's down on a stage. I walk into the room. She sees me, locks eyes with me, and follows me through the room as I sit down. And I'm looking at my wife and I said, that was creepy. What was up with that? She said, I don't know. So she reads 8 people out of the room. I was the second one. And the one that the spirit that came through was my father. And she said some things that no one else could know. Like she asked about my father fell down when he passed away from blunt force trauma. That's how he died. It moved his brainstem. And she asked me about who is Sarah, the one that had to make the big decision for my dad to pass away, to pull the plug. I said, Sarah, my niece? She said, no, Sarah who made the big decision. I said, oh, that's my mom. Her middle name is Sarah. No one else knows that but me, so that's how I knew this was a real thing going on. So at the end of the show, I went down and introduced myself. I said, hi, I'm Daniel. I spoke to you on the phone a couple of weeks ago. She said, oh. And in that voice, sounding like a teacher, and I'm 7 years old, I want you to stay till after the show. Like, oh no, I'm in trouble by my teacher. So I do. Everyone leaves. And she said, I saw you show up. I said, yeah, my wife and I, when we walked in, I saw you like lock your eyes on me. She said, yeah. She says, because I don't see you like you see you. I see you in the same way that spirit sees you. And I said, how does spirit see me? She said, you're like a big white light. You're a beacon of light. She said, you shine brighter than anything I've ever seen in my life. You came through that door. She said, I could sense you outside that door, but you came through that door. and you look like the sun, like a big giant light bulb. She says, I don't even see a body. She said, when spirit looks at you, like with you, they look at you and they see your body. They see a frame, but they see a light inside of you, and that's your soul, okay? And some souls are brighter than others, as is yours. Because I know who my people are. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, but when they see you, they just see your frame and they see your light inside of you. Some lights are brighter than others. And when they see a brighter light, they are attracted to that. And they go towards them. She said, but with you, I don't even see a body frame. I just see a light. And I said, what's that mean? She said, well, I know you have an ability to see them. You see them, don't you? And I said, yeah, same thing. I said, it's like being in a room with 1,000 people. She said, yeah. She said, but the reason there's 1,000 of them and not just one or two is because it's you. Because you see them so many because they're coming to you. And I said, why are they coming to me? She said, because they want your help. I said, help in doing what? She said, I don't know. You'll have to find that out. And I said, how do I find that out? She said, well, you're going to have a talk with God. You have to sit down and talk to God. Higher power, whatever you want to talk to him of it. Call him and ask and tell him if you're going to move forward with this. And I said, move forward. She said, well, yeah, to see if you're going to become a medium, because that's what you are. You're a medium, but you're just untrained. You haven't worked on it. You need to work on it if you're going to move forward with it. I said, move forward. She said, well, I know you don't want this to go away, right? And I said, no, it's been part of my life. I said, I know I'm supposed to do something more. She said, well, that's what you're supposed to do. Now you have to have a talk with him and decide if you're going to move forward with this or not. And if you do, great. And she said, things will change for you. Or you could just let it go and it'll just fade away. I said, I don't think I can do that. She said, yeah, I know already. She said, so go home and have a talk with him. So that's what I did. I went home, talked to my wife about it. And then I said, how do I have a talk with God? And she straightens things out for me sometimes. She said, how do you talk to him anytime? You just do, right? I said, yeah. She said, we'll go do that. Because you don't need some big white building with 50 other people in there to try to tell you how you have to have a conversation or a relationship with God. You can have one on your own. You don't need anybody else telling you how to do it. And that's for anybody. So I went in, sat down and talked to him, and I told him like this. I said, I'm not sure what it is what you want me to do, but if you want me to help these spirits, these souls, I'll do that. If you want me to help other people, regular people, I'll do that. I'll do whatever it is you want me to do. But I need help. I can't do this on my own. I can't figure this out on my own. It's been 50 years now. I can't figure this out. Can you help me? And if you help me, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Now, what I was doing was saying yes to this or not, or would have said no, but I said yes. I just didn't understand what I was saying yes to. And one of the things that I do as a medium, as people come to me because they feel as though they have this ability, I already know if they do or not, like you. So when I know that, they come to me and they'll get a reading with me. It's not really a reading. I go through with them everything that has to happen in order for you to be this. And it's a complete life change. And I tell them everything that I went through. And I went through some horrific things. But the good side of it outweighs the horrific things for me. But it doesn't for everybody. Out of the last 27 people that I have done this for in the past year and a half now, just being here in Arizona, 2 of them have moved forward. The other 20 or so didn't because they can't make that life change, because it interrupts their life too much. Because I don't walk around and then, like you say, turn it on, turn it off. This is who I am 24/7. I'm open all the time. Anyone comes up and asks me, oh, you're spirit medium Dan. Oh, yeah. I got a question for you. Okay, ask. Oh, don't you have to go? No, I don't have to go, no. They touch me. They're in contact with me all the time. It never turns off. I ask them questions for myself. When I ride motorcycles. When I'm riding my motorcycle, I'll say to them, and here's that question you asked earlier about, don't you want to know? No. I'll ride my motorcycle and they'll say, I'm going to take this right-hand turn. No. They touch my face or no. You don't want me to take that one? No. You want me to go down to the next road and take the next right-hand turn? Yes. You know what was going to happen at the other one? I don't sit there and contemplate what was going to happen. Whatever was going to happen, I don't care about because I know they're looking out for my best interest. I don't need to know every little thing. I just need to know that if I listen to what they tell me and I follow through with what they tell me, I'll be okay. They told me 4 years, it's been 5 years ago that they told me if I listen to them and do everything that they tell me to do, I'll never get into another car accident again. And I haven't. Because I listen and I follow through. I don't need to know every single little detail. We don't. As long as it's going to help you and get you where you need to be, just do it. But people pay attention too much to, I got to know everything. You're wasting your time doing that. If you have the answer, follow through with the answer. Why bother with the other crap? I listen to what they do. I listen. So when I said yes to saying that, that was the hard part. I didn't realize what I was saying yes to. But everything that I had to go through is something I had to go through, not just for me, but for me to teach other people, to let them know, so they can. Because when that woman gave me the advice to have the talk and either say yes or no, that was pretty vague. But I had to go through everything I had to go through so I could teach other people. This is what's going to happen. This may happen to you. It may not happen to you. But there's a possibility. So you have to be aware of that possibility before you make this decision. Because it is a life-altering, life-changing decision. And when you want to go and do something, when you want to take a job somewhere, you want to be something else, you want to make sure you do all the research first before you do it, because you want to know if you can do it. Like I ride motorcycles. Not everybody can ride a motorcycle. Sometimes physically, but sometimes mentally, they're just scared. Until they actually get on one and they go, oh, this isn't so bad. Because we're people. We overthink things. But I'm here to give people the understanding of what may happen to you, because people can't imagine the things. So one of the things that happened to me is, so I see archangels around me all the time. That's who I have as spirit guides. Do people have, oh, who's my guardian angel? You don't have guardian angels. You don't have, the only reason you would have an angel with you is because you're performing a specific task that God wants you to do. And you're trying to help masses of people. You don't need a guardian angel to help you go to the grocery store and get a cup of coffee, okay? You have spirit guides that help you do that. But unless you're helping many, 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 many people, you're not going to have angels with you. Your grandmother doesn't die and automatically become an angel. Becoming an angel takes a very big commitment and takes a very long time in our sense of time. There's no time there, but it's still, you have to learn. You have to become this, okay? So I have them around me because they protect me from all negative energies. I can walk into any haunted house and nothing can touch me. Now, spirit do touch me all the time. Other spirit do touch me because they're walking up to me. All they see is a light. They're touching me to try to figure out what I am. And they see that light, and then when I feel that, I can tell the difference of archangels. It feels like a real touch, or when the regular spirit touches me, it feels like a buzzing thing. When I feel the buzzing thing, I go, and I close my eyes and I see them in front of me, I go, hey, stop touching me. Because that's the reaction. And then I tell them, my name is Daniel. I'm the light into heaven. Do you want to cross over? And I hear them say yes, or they nod their head because they don't have enough energy to say yes. And then I tell them how to do it. And then they go. So yeah, I can walk into any haunted house, any place, but everything's haunted. I always tell people all the time, I ask them, you're an adult, correct? Yeah. Do you hang out in graveyards all day long? No. Well, neither do they. They don't. Okay, why do they want to be there? It's such a gloomy place. So they want to be around people. So and they don't want to be around sad people, unless they're negative energies who want to be around sad people because they want to collect your energy off of you. They're like energy vampires. That's what they are. So I help them, to get to where they need to be or want to be. But yeah, they walk. But again, someone says, how do you get used to that? You either do or you don't. And I get touched in my face all day long. It never stops. In the very beginning, I didn't know what it was till another medium told me, they're touching you on your face for answers. And I was like, really? I said, yeah, they're feeling it around your forehead. I said, yeah, I am. They're saying, yeah, they touch you all the time. I said, oh, I thought it was a bug. I kept going, what the hell's on my head? What the hell's on my head, you know? But now I know what it is. In the very beginning, it was 2 touches by 2 different archangels. One here named Manos and the other one named Helen. Manos in Greek means God is with us, and heaven's light is Helen. Okay? That was in the very beginning. It was 2. Now it's 46. And I know the names of every single one that's touching me. Helen, Raphael, Uriel, Amenadil, Azrael, Mazaki, Michael, Paul, Jacob, Daniel, Lazel, Ezekiel, Richard, John, Nicholas, Angelo, Joshua, Jonas, Jonah, Jeremiah, Jerome, Jonathan, Ophelia, Cassidy, Arthur, Ezekiel, Andreas, Thomas, William, Cassiel, Gadriel, Ziv, Jophael, Zedekiel, Raziel, Lucifer. Yeah, Lucifer's not the devil. Okay. Jesus and God. God has touched me 5 times. I know exactly where it's at, but I have seen him 5 times. Doesn't look like what you think it does. Jesus, right here. So Michael, right here. Uriel, right here. Gabriel, right here. Raphael, right here. Another Raphael, right here. So Helen touches me on top of my head. She rubs my head because she knows it calms me down. I've always liked it when a woman rubs my head. Now I know why, because she's been doing it
I love
forever.
that you brought that one up, because that one has pulled me out of a meditation a couple times where I'll be right in that vibrant, etheric space, and then they'll touch my head really quick.
Yeah, because when we get done this interview, I'm going to tell you about. When we get done this interview, I'm going to tell you about the other 4 that you have.
Yay!
Because you're different. See, there's mediums.
Don't let my secret out just yet.
Yeah, there's mediums, and then there's something else. Mm-hmm. You're part of the something else. See, 10% of the population are mediums or psychics or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then there's one other that's something else. And that's like less than 0.5%, less than that. It's what I am. It's what you are. So anyway, so they touch me and I get answers that way. But I don't just get answers that way. Now I got to, but I had, so one of the things that I went through, like I said, was I see them around me. And angels are not men with wings. They don't have shields and swords and all that stuff. They don't even look like people, most of them. Helen looks like a person because she was one at one time. She lived here 5,000 years ago, and she was an Egyptian princess. Found that out by watching TV and saw some Egyptian stuff on TV, and she started touching my face, and I started touching my face. I was like, what the hell? She was like, I said, is that what you were? And then I got, yes. I said, Egypt? Yes. And I showed the Egyptian princess, and then again, I was like, you're an Egyptian princess? Yes. That was my last life. And apparently, one of my lifetimes, I was her lover back then. I've been here forever, so I've had many lives. To remember them all.
Plenty of entanglements that want to come back and help you while you're incarnated.
You've been here 28 times. I've been here over 23,000 times. I'm not going to remember all that, but I'm not meant to. Okay, so the touches, they come in, and so I get used to it. But that's how it happened for me. So when at nighttime I see them all around me, I'll see the circle of them standing there, talking to each other. And when I see them, they look like 8-foot praying mantises standing in my room, because that's what they are. They're just beings of a higher consciousness that no longer need a body anymore, okay? They're what we call aliens. Not just because they're alien to us, because they look different. But you know who else looks different? I look different from you. You look different from me. Should I be scared of everything? No. Just people here want you to be scared of those things because they want you to think they're monsters. They're not monsters. It's just that's what they look like, where they come from. Very simple. So I see them around me, and then the next night I'll see them around me again, but then I see their little arms come down, and I feel these little cold touches all over my body. And what they're doing is they're changing my soul so that I can communicate with them better, see them, hear them, feel them, smell them. Thoughts.
Yeah, I heard the mantises were called the time weavers. There was another person who had a vision of them where they just kept crossing their arms like this, all of them in
That's what I see at nighttime.
format.
I see these things go in front of me. Just go whoosh, whoosh in front of me. I see this one next to me now all the time. It was about maybe 2 months ago. I saw a figure of a man standing there. Now, usually I don't see people. Because when I see archangels, they're very close to me. And there's only one being that can get this close to me. That's God. Everything else that I see is at a distance. But they are very close to me. But I saw this one next to me. Now, I've seen him before in front of me, but now I see him next to me, and he's also working on me at the same time now. It's a progression. Jesus. So I see them around me, and I see their big bug heads and their big bug eyes, and they're touching me and all this stuff. That's part of it. The next part of it, I didn't know was going to happen. After that was touching experience that night, the very next day, I would get sick. It would be coming out of both ends for a few hours, and I'd be sick for 3 or 4 days. And then I'd heal up from it. And then it would happen again 2 weeks later. So it was happening twice a month for 3 years. It went on for 3 years. Twice a month I'd be getting sick and throwing up in the bathroom. Can you deal with that?
Oh, I would
Who
want
wants to? Who wants to deal with that?
Yeah, no.
Right. Well, that's one of the possibilities that could happen. Again, all the people I told that didn't move forward. Now, I'm not saying it could happen, but it will happen, but it might happen.
But do you think it's a form of purging your physical body of something?
Correct.
Okay.
And there's a lot more purging than just that. I'm not saying, and people, when I wrote it in the book, people said, oh, I'm sorry you had to go through all that. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, you went through it, you're different now. I said, no, I'm still going through it. It's not like I hasn't stopped.
Yeah, I haven't hit a plateau.
Correct. You're going to hit a plateau. You know when that's going to happen?
When you die.
Correct. Or
I have to remind myself that when I think I've arrived.
you could change it by saying no. But you're not going to, so don't worry about it. So get used to it. So these things happen all the time. And everything that has happened to me, I had to go through because I'm a teacher of that. I have to teach those who need this guidance to go through with it or not. Because this is not something everybody can be or needs to be. They want them to be, but you have a choice. And you can either be or not. Because this is a life change. I am spirit medium Daniel. This is I still go out and I have friends and stuff like that. But they know that I'm this. This is me when I basically came out of the closet and said, hey, everybody, this is who I am. And then, like with everything like that, I had people who accepted that, and maybe 85 or 95% of them didn't and walked away. That's okay. We'll find new people. And I guess those people really weren't my friends or family because they didn't accept me in the first place. So, too bad for them.
That happens
Because
a lot with
as I
everybody's
explained to
awakening
everybody,
journey.
people come to me because they want an answer from God. I get it. But what usually happens at that point is they don't like the answer. You know why? Because they don't like the truth. That's all.
Well, they
But I
have
still
to
get the
work.
answers. What's that?
I said they have to work. I can definitely relate to that.
Yes.
I did a free healers event. It's really good exercise for me. So,
Yeah.
like I'll sit in a room, I'll do readings, probably about 10 to 7 with breaks whenever I want them.
Correct.
Because, right, like they're not like, you're going to go at lunch on noon. I'm like, if I do
No.
not want to do a reading, I will not do a reading. Like,
Correct.
I'm not the person for you. So they're allowed to
Correct.
walk through all of our readings and just pick whoever they feel called to work with.
Yes,
And-
I did a reading like that one I did 2 days ago. I stopped in the middle of it because this woman just she did not want to help herself. She thought that I was going to be able to contact spirit and they could fix all of her problems.
So
And I said to her, if you think that way, then how come they didn't fix them when they happened? Mm-hmm. She had no answer.
So for me, I was getting, it's almost like collecting research with me through each reading, because it's either about love or letting somebody go or finances or, hey, like my favorite ones are the people starting their awakening and they just need like some help, some guidance, some understanding, some definitions pulled apart and like where to go to next.
Correct. I do the same thing. You're doing the same thing. And then at the same time, you're gaining that information.
Yeah, for sure. It humbles me too, because it makes me feel really good about my awakening experience.
Yes.
Because we all wake up differently, but mine still shocks me to this day, the things that I've gone through in the last 4 years and how it happened in the beginning. So at the end of all of the readings, they were all really freaking heavy. They were all really deep. I saw a lot of, like I said, you know, I'm going to see the things you want me to see. This is an energy transference. I was like, this isn't magic in Hollywood. So if you think like I have the winning lottery numbers for you, that's not how this works. I don't know what your other readings have been. I said, I use these cards as a barrier between me, my clairaudience, your higher self, and my higher self. If I see any animals, if I see any spirit guides, I'll be happy to let you know. I said, but I don't have the answers. My body is a conduit. And I go, and I'm just as tripped out as you during these readings, because I am not all knowing. I am truly just a conduit. And they're like, okay.
Right, because it's happening. It's not just happening for the person. It's happening for you both.
It really is. So I'm like, I set that standard before each reading, because you have people that have never done it, people that are just coming in out of a curiosity, trying to, like, you get, like I'm a tourist attraction, and I'm fine with that. And then there's people that they've had so many readings that they know how readings should go. It's a very egotistical way to get a reading, but there's so many people out there.
But I'm sure your reading is completely different from all the other readings I've had, because you do the same thing what I do. I tell people you may not get the reading that you want, but you will get the reading that you need.
And I'm going to give you integration tips. You will not leave until I know you are okay enough to leave this reading.
I do the same thing. I charge for my reading, but I always tell people the reading, prepare for at least 2 hours. Sometimes it goes to 2.5 hours. And I always ask them at the very end, are we good? Mm-hmm. Did you get everything you needed?
Is there anything else that you need?
And when I do a reading on like remote, like this type of thing, I record it for them and then I send it to them. And then I tell them, here's how you can go back and listen to things that you may have missed. And or you can rewind to whatever you want to, and hopefully you'll get past all my stupid jokes, and then you'll get to what you need to hear, and that's going to help you. But but still, even at the end of that, I tell them if there's one question maybe you missed, then you can here's my email address, just email it to me, and I'll answer it for you. That's simple. I mean, if you need a whole nother reading, that's something different. But I don't suggest getting another reading for at least another 3 to 6 months, because after you get the information, you have to do it. You have to live life. Mm-hmm. You have to follow through with the guidance that's given to you. But in the same way, follow through exactly with what the guidance tells you to do. If you deviate from it or use your own ego to change it because you want to make it better, it's probably not going to go. I had a woman come to me and say, hey, Daniel, you told me to get that red card that I was looking at, but it didn't work out the way you told me to. So I think you were wrong about that. And I said, well, let me find out first. And she said, no, I'll tell you. I said, no, I don't need to hear from your ego. Let me find out the truth. So I asked, and I said, okay, you didn't actually do what I told you to do. You actually went and got the car, but you didn't put all the money down on the down payment. You took some of that money and used it for something else, didn't you? And she looked at me and she said, what do you mean? I said, you didn't use all the money for the car. You asked me to buy the red car, and I told you, yes, the Spirit says you can buy the red car, but you didn't do that. You took some of the money and put it down on something else, so you didn't make a full down payment on the car. What did you buy? She said, I bought jewelry. I said, so in other words, you bought jewelry using your ego because you wanted to manipulate the answer and try to make it something better. But you didn't ask me that question. If you'd asked me, can I buy a car and some jewelry, I would have found out the answer, which probably would have been no, and they're telling me no right now. So no, don't do that. Just buy the car. But you didn't do that. So I wasn't wrong. You were. And she said, you're right. I said, okay. And she said, so I need to ask you a question. And I said, you know what the answer was for that? No. And she said, why not? I said, because you don't listen to me, you don't listen to God, so why should I give you anything else if you're not going to listen and pay attention? When you get yourself right and you start listening and paying attention to everything that's being told to you, then I will help you. But I can only help the people who really want to be helped, and not the people who want to manipulate it with their own freaking ego. Go away and have a nice day. See you. And that's it.
Well, that's
because I don't play games.
How I feel about my readings too. I would.
Yeah,
really
spirits not here to play games. They're here to help you, but you have to listen. And you have to listen. You have to trust, and you have to follow through.
Very true. Okay,
Easy,
so
right?
where are we at on your story right now? So you've talked to mediums. You've gotten these confirmations about all the gifts that you have. How does this propel you into fully coming out of the closet, being spirit medium, writing the book, and
writing the book was actually not my even idea. I'll tell you straight on. I'm not an author. Okay, my writing is crap. Okay, my grammar is horrible. So, and I have a really good friend who is also a medium, who's also in the book. I just don't mention any names because people are. And she's the editor. I mean, when I submitted the book, I submitted everything. Plus, the end of my book, there's it's called the Basics. It's 25 messages that Spirit brought me, not just regular Spirit, from archangels, the right hand of God, of how to help people. This is going to help us to implement them into our lives, to make us, help us to be better human beings, to help other people to become better human beings, which in turn helps ourselves become better human beings. When I submitted the book to her, and at the end, I gave her those 25 messages, she sent them right back. She said, nothing needs to be edited for that part. How come? I said, because it didn't come from me. It came from a perfect place. I did an author's read a couple of months ago, and the woman who had this thing going, she taught writing in college here in town, and she said when I read the book, it was like two different people wrote it, because at the end, it's like different. I said, yeah, because that was coming from archangels, not from me. So writing the book was not even my idea. I was in meditation, and they show me a video of a cartoon of a man. Okay, he's got this brown something on, and he's writing on these scrolls. And I was like, well, what's that supposed to mean? He's writing something. And I could touch yes. And I was like, what's he writing? And I see close up, and all of a sudden they show me a piece of paper. It has my handwriting on it. And I was like, and then when I'm in meditation, I can talk to them just like this. I don't have to do it in my mind because I'm me. So I'm talking to him. I said, that looks like my handwriting. And I heard in my mind, yes. And I was like, at that point, I was like, did you just tell me yes? And then they touched my face for yes. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, what, you want me to write a book? Yes. I was like, what am I going to write about it? And I heard, you're going to write about your story. And at the end, we're going to give you some messages to put in there for us, for them. And I was like, did you just tell me that? Yeah. Okay. It wasn't until maybe 3 years later I actually wrote the book. But they told me to write the book. They named the book The New Beginning. So, but why do I write it? Because they told me to. Because it needed to come out. Because it's hopefully going to help people. So, yeah, becoming this was a big deal for me. Like I said, coming out of the closet, and letting everybody know this is who I am now. And it changed the way everyone looks at me now. But now I have people who know. In this book, I got with a group of women who I found someone finally. That first year that I was going through this process, I was lost. I didn't have anybody. And then I after finding that paranormal group, there was one other lady who I talked to who had a paranormal group, but she was different. She had an intuition group, and she invited me to that. And then when I went to that, and when I explained to her everything was going on, she said, well, I'm putting this group of mediums together. I want you to come there, and maybe you'll learn some stuff. And I was great. Now, when I got there, everybody there was already a working medium. I was the only one who wasn't. When I walked in, literally, I walked into the room and said, hey, my name's Dan. And they went, everybody in the room just went like this. And I was like, what? And they said, oh, my God, your energy, can you calm that down? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Because I didn't know, But when I went to her intuition class, the one girl says to me in there, she said, have you ever tried Reiki? I said, I looked at her because I don't know what it is terms. I said, I don't like yard work. She said, what? I said, yard work, Reiki. She said, no, Reiki. I said, moving of energy. I was like, oh, I've never heard of that. I mean, I'm new here. But when I went to that meeting with them, they all helped me for a year. We went like once or twice a month, and they helped me to develop this. And in the middle of developing it, things were happening as well. Like, I got a message, I heard it in my mind, that they said, we want you to go to the meeting. We want you to sit down with this one woman and sit across from her, close your eyes, clear yourself out, and hold her hands. And I was like, did you just tell me all that? And I got touched, yes. I was like, all right. And then I heard, but you have to ask her permission. So I said, okay. So I went to the meeting, and after the meeting, I said to this one girl, I said, hey, her name's Siobhan. I said, Siobhan, they told me they want me to sit across from you and hold your hands and clear out her mind, and then something's going to happen. And when I said that, one of the other women said, hey, are you going to channel? And I said, what? I don't know. What's that mean? And they said exactly what you just said. And I was like, okay, sure. So they all sat around and watched. And I closed my eyes and cleared my mind out. Now, this is where it got, again, strange. I put my hands out. She held onto my hands, and she went like this. And I was like, are you okay? And she just whispered, that's the strongest energy I've ever felt. It's like I just got electrocuted. She said, hold on, something's coming. And she said, then she just went, oh my God. I said, what? She said, I can see your archangels in front of you. I said, I can see them too. I just see their two sets of eyes. She said, She said, Manos, he's as big as a mountain. She says, he's huge. And Helen, she's just really bright. I was like, okay. And then she went into what else she saw. And that got kind of scary. But then after that, it was like 10% was like what was going on in the world, and then the other 90% was all about me. And this happened, I channeled with every one of those people at least twice in that group for that year. And it just happened the same way, where they got like 10% about themselves or what was going on in the world. The other 90% was about me. One of those channels happened twice, where someone came through and said, hello, my son. When that voice comes through, you know who's talking to you.
Does it overwhelm you with like happiness, gratitude, love, and a little bit of tears?
Like it's doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It was God. When he comes through, you know who it is. You don't ask God the lottery numbers. You just don't. Because you just think in that type of way, oh, I'll just ask him that. When you get that feeling that overtakes you, that, you know, the goosebumps completely, your whole body is vibrating, the hair standing up. You're just kind of like for a moment, like a comatose but awake feeling. And then he just starts talking and telling you, I have to learn to trust myself, and the information will come. It's coming to you all the time now, but you just don't trust it, and you need to learn to trust it. So again, this is all my beginning stages, but now I trust it. Now it's just me. Archangels aren't a part of me. They are me. I am them. They are me. As in the term is, all is one, one is all. It's just me. I have just recently found out about a year ago that I was one of them. That's where I was. I volunteered for this, to come here and be this for everyone. And I just either accept it or I don't. And I accept it now. It's fine. But because I also know when I leave here this time, I get to go back and I get to go on like a big vacation, and they say it. And because you're telling me in human terms, and then they're going to let me go back to being what I want to be, or it's my choice, you know. Can I go back to being what I once was? My big thing with that is I just still want to feel like I'm me. And they said I will. I will still feel like I do right now. I'll just be of a higher consciousness. Mm-hmm. When we leave here, no one individually leaves here and goes to a higher consciousness. That's bullcrap. We have to do it together. We have to do it as a race of people. In the sense of, like, with the Mayan Indians or with Atlanteans. You notice you just see the buildings. You don't see them anymore. Where did they go? They left. They figured it out. They learned to work together, to help each other. And when they figured that out finally, they all left their bodies. And then there was no longer a need for the city anymore. It got destroyed. There was no longer a need for these buildings. They just deteriorated. That's what's going to happen to us, hopefully, but we're not getting it right this time. We're going to have to go to another place and do this all over again. We'll just, end of days will just be a destruction of this planet because there's no longer a need for it. Mm-hmm. Because but the other part of that is we're doing it. I mean, look what we've done to this world ever since, 140, 150 years ago when we started burning coal and oil. We're destroying this place. We're destroying each other.
Than ever.
We have rockets pointed at each other. Mm-hmm. When are we all going to figure out that we all live in the same place? No one's going anywhere anytime soon, so we better start to get along with each other before we annihilate each other. When are we going to figure that out? That we're all just human. We're not black or white or any of that other stuff. Of course, we're a little bit different, but we're all the same. We're all just people. There's no 50 different genders and all that bull stuff. There's women and men. I see spirit all day long. There's women and men. There's other beings that I don't know what they are because they come from somewhere else, but I know they're women and men. They're not. You don't have to be an individual. No, that's what the problem is now, is we're allowing that to happen. We allow too much of this crazy stuff. But when are we going to figure out that we're all just human beings? I don't know. So, but yeah, coming out was a big deal. And now I'm out. But I don't see myself as being out. I just see myself as being me.
What do you... As far as the rest of your incarnation, since you know that you're living the purpose and helping and guiding people and crossing spirits over, on top of the book that you channeled and any continuing education, what's the rest of your incarnation look like?
I also see into other dimensions. I also remote view. Mm-hmm. I don't have any control of the remote viewing. It just happens. I'll be sitting there, close my eyes, and see me driving around on a car somewhere, or I've seen things where I'm sitting on a couch, walking through someone else's eyes, watching TV. I've been other places, and I was sitting in my room meditating one time, and then it just came on, and I saw my consciousness was outside of my own house, looking at my truck, my wife's vehicle, hearing the kids play down the street. I saw a car go by. I listened to the car go by from outside, but I could hear it inside my room. I see into other dimensions all the time. I wake up in the morning sometimes and still in that state of, coming out of sleep, and you're very clear, and I see other people staring at me and just watching me. Sometimes I just like to watch the light. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they just watch me. And I've talked to them, and I can't hear those ones, but they do. I say something to them. I say, I know I can't hear you, but if you nod your head. And they just watch me because they're trying to figure out how I do what I do. Because they want to know, because they can't do it either. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. You either have this or you don't. I can't teach it to you. I can help you to progress it, but you have to have it first. And it comes through with your soul. So we all have a little bit of it when we come in. I mean, when you have 2-year-olds walking around going, saying, I'm seeing grandma, and they've never heard of grandma before, they're seeing spirit because they just came from someplace perfect and they're pure of heart. Mm-hmm. They haven't learned how to have hate and anger or sorrow, grief, guilt. I mean, they learn that stuff here. If you take 2 children of the age of 2 years old of every race, creed, and color on the face of this earth and put them in one big giant room, and then take 2 of them and say, I want you to turn around and point to me, who do you hate? they're going to look at you like you're crazy because they haven't learned how to hate anybody yet. Mm-hmm. They're pure. They look at the world in this amazed by the whole world. Look at all this cool stuff. You know why they look at that way? Because that's the way you are when you're back at home in heaven. You are still very knowledgeable, but you're just amazed by the love and the forgiving and the peace. We can all have that here. But what happens here is, like with the children, they grow up and the world teaches them the ways of the world, all the crap. And then they fall into it and they get brainwashed and believe it. Mm-hmm. Here's an idea for you. Stop believing it, because it's not real. It's bullcrap. Don't listen. Stand up and take the power back. We could do that.
I was going to ask what your advice was, but I feel like this is your advice.
Another advice is don't judge anybody. When you're about to judge someone, think to yourself, take a self-inventory of yourself and think of all the crap you've been through in your life, and then look at that person and go, you know what? They've probably been through some crap too. Maybe they're going through some crap today. You don't have the right to judge them. And then you bite your tongue and walk away. Because we're all equal. We all came from the same place. We can all go back to the same place if we choose. Mm-hmm. Because we all come from the same family. Soul family. That's where you come from. You don't come from here. You come from there. You just come here to learn things and fulfill that purpose. Like I said, we fulfill our purpose throughout our lives, but not enough. They want us to do it a certain amount so we can really learn it all and then come back and stay home. Mm-hmm. Because they know they can send us back again. We call it reincarnation, but it's not punishment. God doesn't punish you. We punish ourselves. Mm-hmm. We are the ones that enable us to have them to come back here again. Because we didn't do what we should have done. We only did what we wanted to do by using our ego, of which we learned how to have here. I mean, they know they can bring us back. Because no one lives to be 150 years old. Besides, at that point, it's going to hurt to pee. And who wants to be here for that? So they know they can bring us back again into another body. But the body you come into is the body you are meant to learn the lessons in. I'm here to tell you, you start changing parts like everyone's doing now, you're coming back. Because you're using your ego. Because you want to be something you think you can be and should be, and everybody else just too bad for them. You're meant to learn the lessons in the body you're in. That's it. It's not like a real big rule, but it is. You are meant to learn the lessons in the body you're in. If you want to, like in heaven or even in the earthbound realm, you're allowed to love anybody you want to. We call it being, homosexual or gay or something like that. No. It's called one thing, love. Mm-hmm. Express it. You have it, so express it. It's people who judge each other. Mm-hmm. But when you start changing everything about you, you are still the same person on the inside. You can't change that. You start changing these parts on the outside, you're coming back. Like I said, I don't make the rules. I just explain them.
And you've done a wonderful job explaining all of it. I'm glad that I'm going to listen back and have to grab my notebook out for this.
You're going to have a lot to edit, lady.
I'm fully engaged in all of this. I do mild edits, too, because I really enjoy having the amateur-esque part of it. One day I'll have my pretty little studio that I manifest in my meditations, and I already know what microphone I'm going to have, all of that fun stuff. But I really, really enjoy knowing that I'm in the beginning stages and the learning and taking the time to do it. And even the days that I'm frustrated and I'm like, why I see this in my mind, why is it not here yet? Really getting out of my own way and just still learning through all of it all.
It'll happen when it's meant to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it definitely is the ego that wants it now, and I understand that and have to tell that girl to go eat a Skittle, but it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, the ego wants us to have, we have it now where we have great internet, but, 20 years ago, it was dial-up, and come on, when's it going to turn on? Well, it takes 2 minutes. Give it a break. Come on.
Well, mine was somebody needs to use the phone, so you have to get off the internet, and that
was
awful. I'm like, what do you mean? I know. I have to get on MSN Messenger and talk to everybody.
Yeah, I was on there, too. I was on MSN and all the chat rooms and all that stuff.
Yeah, so if I'm a listener of the episode that we are finishing up and I want to get a hold of you or get a reading from you, you are able to do them, like you said, over Zoom video, record
Correct.
it, and send it to them?
It doesn't make a difference what part of the world you are in. I'm connected all the time, and I can get answers for anybody. In the same way where when Spirit asks me a question, I have to get an answer for them. I talk to my spirit guides, I get the answer, I give them the answer, and then I show them the way, what they want to do next, whichever way they want to go next, okay? In that same way, and anyone who asks me a question, I will get the answer. Like I said, people come to me for an answer from God, because when I'm talking to archangels, they are the right hand of God. So essentially, I used to ask that in the beginning, is this what God wants me to do? Is that what God wants me to do? And they would just tell me, whatever we tell you to do is what God wants. So, I mean, he's come to me 5 times and spoken to me 5 times, but that's something totally different. But so when I get an answer, it's what God wants you to do, but you have a choice. Mm-hmm. That's something he gave you. So, they come to me for an answer from God. I get the answer, but they don't always like the answer because it's the truth, but they don't like the truth. But it's still the truth. They have to decide whether or not they can fit that into their lives or not. And so I get it for them. At that point, I have to say, hopefully they do the right thing with it.
I always say it's important, no matter who you get a reading from or how validating it is or however it feels, you should always take it home and present it to your intuition. Your intuition is going to tell you maybe even what part of the reading is for you then, and then it's going to restore it for you, and it's going to bring it back later.
Yes, because your intuition is actually your soul speaking to you.
Absolutely. So I always think that's very, very important with telling anybody, especially if I'm going to recommend readings for anybody. So anybody listening, if Daniel has spoken volumes to you, you want to know more about his story, you would like to read his book, or even reach out to him with any of your questions or booking a reading, you know what to do. Just click on the description where you're listening, and I will have all of his websites, his links for you. And feel free to follow him on all of his social media platforms and keep along with his last incarnation.
I'm on Facebook. I mean, that's pretty simple. You can find me at Daniel Jackson there, but you can go to the Spirit Medium Daniel group on Facebook and find that, and you can ask to join. And then, but I always tell people, so when I do interviews on other show for my own show, or I'm going to do an interview on someone else's show, I always ask Spirit, is this okay to be on? And if they tell me no, I don't go on it. If they tell me yes, I go on it. If someone comes to my group and wants to join, I always ask Spirit, does this person have good intentions for themselves and for the group? And if I get a no, I just say decline. It's that simple. So you got to be a good person. You got to be a responsible person, and you have to have good energy and want to be putting a positive energy out there with other people. And as long as you're going to do that, I will allow you to come in the group, because I let everybody in the group, including myself. We interact with each other on that group. So, and they're always asking questions, and I always give them answers, because I don't have to charge everybody for everything. I mean, we're here to help each other, but. For reading, it does take the time out of my day to do that, and the energy from me to do that as well.
That's a big old reading. I don't blame you.
Yeah, that's a big old reading. Yeah, if they want to do that, they just go to www.spiritmediumdaniel.com, book a reading. They can book a regular reading, or if they think they have this ability and they want to know if they can move forward with it, then we will have what I call the big talk, and then we will do that for probably 2.5 hours. So yeah, very, very simple to get a hold of. And then the book is on Amazon. Just go to Amazon, put in Daniel Jackson, A New Beginning, My Awakening as a Spirit Medium, just all up in the bar. It'll come up. You'll see a picture of a man walking into a bright white light. That's me. And I hope you enjoy the book. It has 5-star ratings, so I know it's helping. And usually it's 137 pages long, so it usually takes a couple of hours to read. But everybody says whenever they listen or read the book, if they've heard my voice, it sounds like I'm telling them the story. And the moral of the story, like we talked earlier, is if you're having these same situations that I had, and you're having them, go out and find your people. There's someone else out there who's experiencing it too. And maybe you can, or has gone through it already, and they can help you, and maybe you can help them in some way. But in the same way, with anything in your life, if you're having some issues in your life that you cannot figure out, if we were meant to do this on our own, there would only be one of us. There wouldn't be 7.5 billion of us. There's somebody else out there who can help you. find your people, find your tribe, and let them help you, and maybe you can help them at the same time.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you to the archangels for giving you the heads up to be able to come on my show as well.
I always ask.
I appreciate it.
Well,
before we do get out of here, Vitality Exposed is going to bring us another Neovite track. You guys get to hear the whole album as you continue to listen to all the new episodes we're bringing out to you. This is off his new album, Dusk. It is a track called Air. Here's about a little minute for your day. I will see you over on the next episode, my friends.
This is the Hoosier Media Network, your home for podcasting.